Hello there, duelists. Ever notice that technology is advancing at an alarming rate? Ever wonder if that YGO Pro bot will become sentient? Well, if it did, it would be sure to use today's deck, as we have Ignister on the playmat. Used by AI in the Vrains anime, Ignister had some decent plays in the past, but it was the release of Lightning Overdrive last year that really overclocked the CPU of the deck. So let's boot it up and hear that dial tone of Ignisters. Okay, so let's meet the blobs. So we've got Achichi at 3. So I'm going to butcher the names. I can already feel it. So Achichi's in your Stratos. So when it's summoned, you can add an Ignister monster from your deck to your hand. It's got to be level 4 or lower, and it's also got an effect when in the graveyard. If your Cyverse monster battles, you can banish it to destroy the Cyverse monster. I can't really say that's come up ever in the testing that I've done. Then we're running 3 Pikari. So Pikari is kind of like the other side. It searches a spell or trap, an AI spell or trap, when it's normal or special summoned. It can also change the level of a Ignister monster you control to 4 until the end of the turn, which can come up. From there, we've got a bunch of one-offs. So we've got 1 Doyon, 1 Bururu, and 1 Danmari. So these are crucial to the combo. So Doyon, when it's normal special summoned, you can target an Ignister monster in your graveyard and add it back to hand. And if it's linked off for a Cyverse monster, you can target an AI spell or trap card in your graveyard and add that back to hand as well. So it's great for kind of recursion. I've seen quite a lot of builds running 2, and I have dabbled with 2. I just don't really think you need 2. The combo only requires 1, and it's not really, it doesn't start anything. So you kind of don't want to see it in your, as your play starter. You'd much prefer Achichi or Pikari. Bururu is a tuner, so that's searchable by some other ways in the deck. But if it's normal special summoned, you can send an Ignister monster from your deck to the graveyard. And then if it's synchro summoned for a Cyverse monster, you can special summon the other monster that was synchro summoned, the synchro summon material. Danmari is a bit of a brick. If your Ignister monster battles, you can special summon it from your hand and negate the battle. But its real effect is when you control a level 6, a link 6 link monster, you can quick effect banish it from the field to target a card on the field and negate its effects, kind of like Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. So these are all great. And again, Doyon, I still have like hard feelings about whether it should be 2 or 1, but for the time being, it's sticking at 1. From there, we're running a couple of extenders. So we're running 1 Doshin, 1 Hiyari, and 1 Mathmech Subtraction. So these are kind of just extenders, really. So both Doshin, so the earth and the water Ignisters, they can special summon themselves from the hand if you control an Ignister monster. And then they basically facilitate either fusion summoning or ritual summoning, which we don't play either of. So I'm not going to bother going over their effects, but they're basically just a special summon from hand. Mathmech Subtraction is a very similar vein. He can special summon himself by reducing the attack of a monster on the field by 1,000. And he's searchable, which kind of comes up in some of the combo lines that we end up doing. You probably should be playing Addition, but Subtraction's like less, like around $1, and Addition for some reasons like 5, so I've gone with Subtraction. From there, we're playing a few hand traps. We're running 3 Effect Veiler for targeted effect negation and 2 Ghost Ogre for that pop. You could easily run Ash Blossom if you wanted to bump the cost of the deck up. Okay, so we've had a look at the motherboard, so let's have a look at the hard drive now. So we've got 3 Ignister A.I.Land, and we're actually running quite a lot of spells and traps if you haven't noticed from the monster count. So this is the heart and soul of the deck. You really want to see it. In fact, you need to see it in order to make any sort of plays. If you control no monster in your main monster zone, you can special summon an Ignister monster from your hand. It's got to be level 4 or lower, and for the rest of the turn, you can't special summon the same attribute of monster using A.I.Land. So if you summon a fire, you can't summon a fire again, even if you don't control any monster in your main monster zones. You can also banish an Ignister monster from your graveyard to set it face down if it's in the graveyard. From there, we're playing 3 AI Meet You, which is kind of a consistency bump that we got from Lightning Overdrive. So you reveal a monster with 2,300 attack from your extra deck, and then you can add to your hand an Ignister monster that is the same attribute of that monster. If you don't special summon the revealed monster, you lose 2,300 life points during the aim phase. You can't special summon anything apart from Cyverse for the rest of the turn, which a load of the kind of spells and traps actually lock you into Cyverse, so I suppose it's worth noting if you wanted to play something else. From there, we're playing 2 A.I.dle Reborn. So this is quick effects, special summon an Ignister monster. Can't special summon anything apart from Cyverse monsters. And then if 2 monster battles, you can banish it in order to add back to hand an AI spell or trap card that's banished or in your graveyard, I believe. Doesn't come that often, but it's worth having. I have considered knocking this down to 1. I quite like the versatility of it, and it's, you know, obviously it's a searchable Monster Reborn, which is pretty solid. From there, playing 1 Fighting Spirit. So this is another Monster Reborn. It's not a quick effect, but it's a different name, and because A.I.dle Reborns are once per turn, Fighting Spirit's definitely worth having in my opinion. So target an AI monster in your graveyard, sorry, an Ignister monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and then if an Ignister monster with 2,300 more attack will be destroyed by card effect, you can banish it from your graveyard, and when it's banished, you can target a Ignister monster with 2,300 or more attack and make it undestructible by card effects. I'd say that rarely comes up, if I'm being honest, because the monster that you're making is kind of already kind of immune to those sort of things. So from there, playing the last AI spell, which is AI Contact. And again, I would argue that this is definitely cuttable. So if you've got an A.I.Land in your field zone, you can reveal an A.I.Land in your hand, place it on the bottom of your deck, and draw 3 cards. So obviously the draw 3 sounds really appealing, and getting rid of those A.I.Land, the additional A.I.Lands in your hand is also great, because sometimes you can end up with a lot of them. But what I'd say is most of the time when you're going through your combo, you need to search specific things, and you don't really have the flexibility to just search this. So you already have to have kind of the pieces together in order to make this work. So yeah, I'm still kind of playing with it, but I think it's probably worthy of the one-off. From there, we're playing 3 Cynet Mining. So send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard, add a level 4 or lower Cyverse from your deck to your hand. So this is another consistency bump. Obviously, this is really bad for Ash Blossom, but you know, I think you've got to run it, I think is what I'd say. From there, we're playing 3 Forbidden Chalice for more targeted effect negation, and also kind of, it's not bad at breaking, well, attempting to break boards going second as well. So now we're playing a bunch of one-offs. So we're playing the 1 Called by the Grave, the 1 Terraforming, and the 1 Monster Reborn. So Monster Reborn, again, you could argue maybe you want to play, you know, some more hand traps, or maybe a few more of the Ignister extenders. There's Achichi, I think, which is the high-level Earth monster. I quite like Monster Reborn. I think it's versatile, but again, it's not searchable. Called by the Grave, you know, it's just kind of that thing of insulating you against the hand traps. It's kind of a shame that it's still at 1. I think it really should probably come back to 2, but maybe that's too good on combo decks. I'm ranting. Terraforming, again, you just want to see that field spell. If you don't see the field spell, you're toast. And then the 1 Upstart Goblin to try to increase your, you know, just your consistency, that 39 card deck. And then the final 3 cards are Infinite Impermanence. So again, for targeted effect negation, and it's also good going second on that kind of board break if you wanted to as well. I realise that this is a more expensive hand trap than some of the other cards I'm playing here, so you could definitely cut it if you wanted to. Alright, so let's go on to the GPU. So we've got 3 Dark Infant at Ignister. So this is another card that was released in Lightning Overdrive that really bumped up kind of the Ignister kind of tier rankings, or meta relevance, should I say. So it's Link 1, which is obviously pretty busted. It's got to be a non-link Ignister to summon it, which, you know, is most of our cards. When you special summon it, you can add the field spell, and then if Ignister monster with 2,300 attack activates its effect, you can move Dark Infant to the zone that it points at and change its attribute. Which works perfectly in the combo and allows us to, you know, kind of maximize the potential of some of our other extra cards. You could choose to run 2 in your main combo. You run you run through 2 Dark Infants. So that extra one for me allows you some form of kind of replayability, which is why I'm running the second Splash Mage as well, actually, just because I think it's the most versatile of the cards. The extra deck is really rammed, so I think I've got about 2 flex spots, maybe 3 if you're really going for it. But yeah, I think the extra deck's pretty tight. So Splash Mage, target 1 Cyberse monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Its effects negated, and you can't special summon monsters for the rest of the turn apart from Cyberse monsters. It's 2 Cyberse monsters, it's just super generic, great way of extending. From there, we're running the 1 Cyberse Wicked and the 1 L-Phase. L-Phase? Yeah, L-Phase. So Cyberse Wicked can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, and if a monster is summoned to a zone it points to, you can banish a Cyberse monster from your graveyard to search for a Cyberse tuner monster, which is the green at Ignister. L-Phase, it's an interesting card. It gains attack based on the number of monster it points to, and if it's linked to summon away, you can special summon a level 4 or lower monster from your graveyard, but it can't. It's effective negate and you can't be used for a link summon, but it's a great way of kind of link climbing. It was a recent addition. I found it on, I can't remember which channel it was actually. It was on the YouTube channel. I really should have written that down, because yeah, I didn't even know this card existed until that point. Then we're running 3 link 3s, so we're running 1 Dark Templar, 1 Fire Phoenix, and the 1 Transcode Talker. So Dark Templar is kind of like, I suppose, it's a real choke point of your combo, but it's still well worth running. So if a monster special summons to the zone it points to, you can target, you can special summon level 4 or lower Ignister monster from your graveyard to 2 zones it points to. So you summon Baby to this, to a zone that Dark Templar points to. Templar activates, then Baby activates to shift itself out of the zone that the Templar points to, and you get 3 summons for Dark Templar, which is obviously great. It can also special summon a Cyberse monster from your graveyard if it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, but it's not on the field that often for that effect to come up. Fire Phoenix is an interesting one. It definitely should be, is it the Heat Soul Code Talker? Or Heat Soul Talker or something like that. That's coming out in Ghost of the Past 2. You need the fire because you need it for the AI meet you, because you need to be able to search Achichi with it. But in actual fact, you rarely summon it. If it attacks, you can inflict 2,300 damage rather than doing battle damage, and then if it's destroyed, you can destroy a monster your opponent controls, I think, and then if it's destroyed, it comes back during the next standby phase, and you can only activate 1 effect per turn, I think. But we're rarely summoning it. It's really only there as a target, which is kind of where it's like, it's chewing up a space in an extra deck that's really tight, and I think that Heat Soul is actually a lot better because you get to draw a card from that at least, so it's actually useful in terms of carrying on gaining advantage. Right, I'm going to try and speed this up because there's a bunch of one-offs in this. So Transcode Talker can special summon 1 Link 3 or lower Cyberse Link monster to a zone it points to, and that's a great way of kind of link climbing. From there we're going on to our bosses, so we've got Firewall, Firewall Dragon Dark Fluid, and the Arrival Cyberse at Ignister. So Firewall Dark Fluid Dragon, it gains counters based on the number of Ritual, Synchro, Fusion, and XYZ cards in the graveyard. We're maximizing that at 2, but it's still, it gets 2 negates, 2 monster negates based on that. And when it attacks, it gains 2,500 attack for each counter that's on it. So if you've got 2 counters on it, it's an 8,000 monster, which is pretty huge. Cyberse at Ignister, so Dark Fluid requires 3+ effect monsters, and at Ignister requires 3+ monsters with different attributes. It gains 1,000 attack for each link monster used for its summon. It's unaffected by other card effects, and you can target a card on the field and destroy it and special summon a token. So Cyberse at Ignister is kind of your main win condition. A lot of decks, if they're, especially game 1, are not equipped to deal with an unaffected, can be 5,000, 6,000 if you're absolutely desperate for it, monster. I often actually go a bit lower attack and end up special summoning both of them just because I feel like it puts more more pressure on, because in your main combo you can get this guy out with a negate, but you can do that guy with a negate and then this guy with 2 negates, and then you've got kind of you know, 3 negates, 2 monster negates, and then a kind of targeted on-field negate, and that requires you know, your Achichi or Pikari plus an extender, which is solid. And then for the non-link monsters, we're running 1 Cyber's Quantum Dragon, 1 Light Dragon at Ignister, and then 1 Prime Mathmech Amberchan. I've butchered that. So Light Dragon can detach if a card would be destroyed. You can also detach a card from it to pop cards on the field up to the number of face up monster your opponent controls up to the number of at Ignister monster you control. So it's definitely at least a single pop. And then if a monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can special summon a link monster from your graveyard, which doesn't come up that often. It's also light for AI Meet You. And again, that's one where you could cut it, but after your first turn, I find it's much better to be able to search Pikari than it is Achichi. Cyber's Quantum Dragon, while it's on the field, your opponent can't target link monsters. You have to target the Quantum Dragon. If it battles, you can bounce the opponent's monster, and it can attack again. And then the Prime Mathmech, detach 2 to search the Mathmech card from your deck, which is kind of comes up with FA.I.s, and it's a great way of kind of, again, link climbing. Okay, so we've checked out the specs. Ignister have got one hell of a boss monster, and the combo really only needs a single card, of which we run kind of 12 ways to get to it. So it's consistent, and even more importantly, it's quite small as an engine. You've got a load of main deck space for hand traps and, you know, other forms of disruption. However, the combo is a bit fragile in points, and the extra deck space is mega tight. It's also not that repeatable, so you've really got to win the duel quick. All that said, it's a 4 for relevance. As for the fun factor, the combo line is fairly linear once you have it down. You can obviously kind of flex it a bit depending on how you exactly want to end it, but you're not really going to be coming up with anything absolutely, you know, revolutionary anytime soon, I wouldn't have said, without some more support. So it's a 3 for the fun factor. Cost-wise, this deck is an absolute steal. I've estimated this build at $135, but $45 of that is impermanence. So you can cut that, you can get this deck for sub $100, which I think for the consistency and the power level is, well, it's a really, really good budget option in my opinion. So, are at Ignister's computing wins, or in dire need of a reboot? Thanks for watching.